Yo, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe and comment down below if you got any questions or criticisms about the video. All right, YouTube, don't tell that Rifkin guy who's supposed to be taking time off that I cast another one of these games, okay? Welcome back. It's another cast of AlphaStar. And to address this really quick, a lot of people have been commenting on the last few videos that this couldn't possibly be AlphaStar because AlphaStar is a barcode on the ladder, but it doesn't have a name down here. Just to be clear, I put that there for production so it looks a little bit nicer and easier to watch. So this is a barcode on the ladder identified as AlphaStar. And to the upper left, we have the blue Zerg. It's TheBeast. Now, I gotta be honest, this is another one of those casts I'm doing after another 5-hour stream. You could probably hear it in my voice, but this is me again just shouting out that I'll be live most nights on twitch.tv/BaseTradeTV. But AlphaStar, I have seen play Zerg, I believe, a couple of times. I don't think I've ever seen a ZvZ up to this point, though, so this will be kind of interesting to watch get sussed out. I have no clue who TheBeast is, but once again, a Masters League player over on Europe, so shout out to them if they can pull off victory. I'm going to be watching this alongside all of you for the first time. So no predictions, no guesses, but AlphaStar's had interesting games where it's won with Zerg but played poorly throughout, but the macro was on point. And I feel like we already know from current human Zerg players that it's very difficult to manage injects perfectly and creep tumors and production and still dance around the map all at the same time. Whereas AlphaStar might be able to just smoothly handle that a bit better. Either way, if you have not been paying attention to the production tab up to this point, there is a big attack coming out of TheBeast. But this is also going to be all in. There's versions of this you can just kind of commit to lightly, expand behind it and get ahead, but TheBeast is committed to this because it's a Baneling Nest coming up next. Hand-in-hand speed's about halfway done, so there will be continued aggression after this initial battle. That much is for sure. But we got to see if AlphaStar can handle this, because this does hit at a timing where the Queen's not out yet. There's no Lings, the spawning pool is only just completed. And it's not like AlphaStar didn't know this was coming. The Overlords in the middle of the map saw all of this and still see the reinforcements. Perhaps willing to just yield the natural base. It's not a terrible idea. Some Zerg players will insist on pulling all the drones to protect this, but I don't think that would protect it in this situation with the Lings and the Queen so far away. But they are on the way. Nice micro with these drones actually dancing away from those Lings. A couple Banelings on the ramp, though, gonna make this really scary here for AlphaStar if he's not careful. Of course, it's hard to guess if you got here on time, but perhaps for the AI, doesn't have to guess, keeps count. Either way, Banelings start popping off, and granted, not the greatest Banelings of all time. Takes out the larva. No more reinforcements from the low ground. Queen pops out. Not a great time here because the Lings are already on top of her. The Banelings are going to waddle on in. But roaches are coming out of AlphaStar, and so far that base is still standing. Roaches are not exactly a great answer when there's a lot of Zerglings in play, but there's not that many Zerglings, so 1 to 3 roaches should do the job with relative ease. I just don't think they're going to be able to save the hatchery at this rate, which makes this double so bad because, of course, the Queens went down, the reinforcements went down, and the resources lost plummeting here. AlphaStar not having such a good early game. But keep in mind that what TheBeast did was a lot of existing mineral damage, but none economically so. AlphaStar's had more workers throughout all of this and a much higher income, so it's actually had the capability to afford these losses. And now with TheBeast taking a base that's 300 minerals, they won't have to deal with what's possibly a roach push across the field. If AlphaStar's going to take the natural base, they've got to decide whether they want to do it now or later, though, because at some point, there's just not going to be enough time to build from there. That being said, though, TheBeast has let up on the aggression. Drones, and more drones back at home. Pretty satisfied with the one base situation, but never getting up that ramp, never being able to see what the swap was or how many roaches have been made. I mean, as far as he knows, it's like 2. But that's a large cluster of roaches, and if AlphaStar wants to go for a counterattack, it's certainly available. Continue to bulk up roaches and split a couple drones here and there. Still waiting to see if it's going to take that natural. It looks like it wants to. Again, I guess while we're waiting a moment here, the control groups revealed. No control groups over here. The AI gets away with a fair bit, but can't hide that. There's no way you could play this game without control groups, especially as a Zerg player. In fact, we can watch the camera here of AlphaStar for a second. And even with how fast this is still nowhere near fast enough for what it would be required to play without control groups. So, you know, kudos to AlphaStar, but maybe we'll stay on the camera for a second, watch the AI point of view on the defense, because this is another pretty rowdy one, and unfortunately, not a great situation if he loses this hatchery again. But it looks like the defense is solid, trust in the roaches is good, and the queens do clean this up, albeit very barely. The concerning part about this, of course, are those roaches still staying at home and not pushing across for the counter. But somehow, without control groups and without looking at the base, AlphaStar continues to produce. And I'm going to go back to all vision now at this point. But as the roaches start pushing out, this is going to be revealed, and the beast will see this immediately. I'm just now enjoying the fact that beast is blue, or the beast is blue, just like the beast, like from X-Men. Nerd chuckles. But it's a small attack. It's not that committed, but it should be enough to do some real serious damage, especially for a player who's just been making drones this entire time. He's starting to throw out some lings now, however. And if these lings surround those roaches, you bet those lings will win the fight. But if the roaches can get to the mineral lines or squeeze behind a ramp, there's a lot of ways these roaches can turn that, what would be expected loss of a battle, into a victory. I mean, seriously, no slouch on army supply right now. 44 to 18. Those other roaches across the field didn't do much, so now they're comfortable coming back home, but I am really worried here for the beast, who is continuing to insist on sticking on Link Tech. And here's the thing. He's got 1-1. And in some ideal situations, this will actually do so well for him. His army supply doesn't need to be huge as long as it's constantly surrounding, because +1 on those lings is going to chew through these roaches so freaking fast. However, I don't think he's going to get that surround, and I don't think he's going to have enough lings to pull it off. So even with 1-1 on the beast's side, his army count is far too low. He put a lot of this time investing in drones, getting his economy rocking and rolling. He's got a lot of money to show for it, especially with this third base being taken. However, it comes at the cost of the army, and he can't see it, but we can. AlphaStar is just holding up with such a big army supply that it's going to be one decisive push that decides whether this game ends or not. Because on one side, well, it determines how it ends, but it's for who? Because on one side, AlphaStar should theoretically get across the field with so much army supply, it's just a crashing wave and it overwhelms. But on the other side, if it can't win, the beast's economy has been so good for so long, there'll be no way to catch up to it after that. I like the idea of the lings being poised down here at the third. He knows it's a 2-base all-in out of the Zerg at this point. Or AlphaStar, excuse me. But, of course, he doesn't know it's AlphaStar. My murmurings aside, he knows it's 2-base. He knows it's going to be some kind of all-in, and his gamble to defend this is going to be a Spire. Not a bad move, right? If you got 12 mutas out, those roaches aren't nothing. They can't shoot up, they can't fight back, the mutas will clean everything up eventually. But I do fear that it's going to be not fast enough. And they're so expensive too, you have to actively bank money for it. But rather than banking money, you start investing in 2-2 right away for his lings. So the beast is going to have possibly some very powerful upgrades, but it comes at the cost of like another 10, well, 4 to 5 mutas to make 10. Well, I guess he'll be able to build about 6 or 7 if he wants. Yeah, 5 for now. But AlphaStar also doesn't know about this tech swap. So what happens? I think if it's a Nidus Worm, it's an easy push across the field, and I guess that's what we're waiting on, layer tech. But I fear that, well, AlphaStar has this incredible army. Like, this is reminding me of like watching Stefano back in the day, right? Well, he's got this incredible Roach Max coming out. Is he going to even have time to use it? Because if the mutas are already on top of him on his own side of the field, then there's no way to defend against it. Whereas for the beast, he's just going to have freedom. First thing these mutas are going to do is clean up every overlord of the field. There'll be no scouting information for AlphaStar whatsoever. And he's done a good job of banking them up so far too. Not willing to reveal his hand too early. He's up to 8. I'd say 12 is a comfortable starting point to deal with roaches, but you need a lot more. Because roaches have got that armor. They can take those hits. They can survive the damage. Still, this army supply is so just straight up astonishing. And the beast is going to scout this too as he gets to the natural. There's just like 40 roaches here. Scuttling away when you turn the lights on, just like real roaches. 43 to be precise. Hey, sick guess, by the way, me. But with more mutalisks accumulating over time and roach speed still nowhere close to being complete, fully aware there's no third base, the beast is in a pretty commanding spot right now. We've seen a couple of games now too where the players have been in commanding positions and still lost to AlphaStar, but I don't know. This is really interesting. It really is like a numbers game here for AlphaStar. And I guess a very important reaction / technique game for the Beast. Like 2-2 on these lings is going to help deal with those roaches as well, of course, but AlphaStar continues its awful inability to corrosive bile as it misses a stationary target a couple of times. Oof. But okay, fully aware where the attack's coming from. The Mute has moved to intercept. They should be able to just kite around, almost one-shotting some of the roaches. AlphaStar a little unsure what to do. Pulls back, then goes in. The roaches, of course, keep flickering back to look at this base, but while the lings run wild in the main base, the Mute is hop on top of this army, and if he takes out the Ravagers, that's a squishy opening. The 2-2 lings darting into the fight. The Beast doing everything he can to defend this, but there's so many roaches. Even though the Mutants are cleaning this up, they just tore through those lings and took the hit. On the other side of the field, the counterattack of Zerglings has been dealt with. The roaches now reinforcing that front line. Giving chase and not dilly-dallying, no wasted time, no wasted clicks, if it even had clicks. AlphaStar stutters through his opponent's base. Now the Mutants have given so much damage out to these roaches. Many of them are at half health. Many of them are so close to dying, but they're not dead yet. And until they go down, they're a threat to these drones. So continuing to give chase, the Beast is losing that economic lead through those drones that he's had for the majority of this game. Fourth base also under attack. We got some more roaches coming from AlphaStar. The Beast is cleaning these roaches up, and AlphaStar is almost reinforcing them about as fast as he cleans them up. Taking some time here, the roaches continue to stutter past, and the drone count continues to lessen for the Beast. No way did I ever think this would go the way it has for AlphaStar, but this has been, I guess, as perfect control as you can get when it comes to roaches. Especially when you're an AI, it makes sense, but there's almost no mining going on for the Beast through this. And while there's no current answer to deal with the Queens, AlphaStar is keeping the Beast on his side of the map successfully. Hatcheries are starting to go down. Drone counts have been dealt with, but I do fear that once it is one and done. I don't think AlphaStar can win this anymore. 23 mutas is a little too much. There's a real possibility. You know, you kill this base and this base and this base, put your opponent back to one. The Beast on one base would be forced to base trade you. Just build a bunch of spores and spines. I'm sure that's got those coordinates of bad builds into its database somewhere, but all the overlords flying forward, perhaps acting as bait, hoping to buy some time. And so far, the Beast takes it, but I mean, all the time bot in the world, it's still just more roaches coming out. Not more queens, not more spore crawlers. I think we've managed to break AlphaStar in this ZvZ. And by we, I mean the Beast. Spore crawlers targeted down before it could even burrow. It's a shame when you see it happen. The roaches try to move out, and they are successfully distracting the mutas, but it is, again, that question of distracting them from what? There's no reinforcements coming behind this that could possibly ever deal with this flock of mutas. Last couple roaches, yeah, getting cleaned. Well, it was Raynor who's defeated AlphaStar prior to this. And he, well, granted, doing it as Terran is a Zerg at heart. It took the Beast to defeat him, possibly. I'm assuming at this point. So what else? Is it just a Zerg thing? Are Zerg the only ones capable of defeating AlphaStar? Similar to the way Zerg were the only ones capable of defeating Amon? This is where I'd play like the X-Files theme, but it's probably not safe to do that. Oh, it's a massacre, and it's a... You hate to see it, but you love to see it. GG's from AlphaStar. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another human champion in TheBeast.